trusting in his promises. I remarried a younger man, hoping for happiness for both my daughter and me, but he broke his assurances and showed little care for us. One day, my daughter was rushed to the emergency room after an accident. Frantic, I called my husband. "Please come to the hospital," I pleaded, but he refused, saying, "I'm at my mom's birthday party, I don't care about someone else's kid," and he hung up. That moment changed everything. The next day, he lost it all. My name is Isabella, and I'm 35 years old. I work hard to provide for my family, which now includes my husband, Jake, who is 5 years younger, and my 7-year-old daughter, Anna. Jake and I have been married nearly 2 years. Some might wonder about the gap between our years of marriage and Anna's age. Actually, Anna is from my first marriage. Jake has no blood relation to her. My first husband was a wonderful man who adored Anna and me, but he tragically passed away in a car accident. After his death, I was devastated, and if not for Anna, I might not have made it through that time. My family, my parents and older brother, supported me through my grief. Eventually, I regained my strength and met Jake through work connections. He soon confessed his feelings to me. "Isabella, I really like you. Would you consider dating me with marriage in mind?" he asked. His sincerity caught me off guard. Jake was cheerful, confident, and sociable, qualities that drew me to him, even though I hadn't expected his confession. Initially, I turned him down, but Jake's persistence and his slightly vulnerable side made me feel protective toward him. Still, the age gap and my role as a mother made me hesitate. Jake, however, insisted, "I'm great with kids. I'll be a good father to Anna and make you both happy." His determination softened my heart, and thinking of Anna's need for a father figure, I introduced them. Jake made an instant impression, playing games and giving her piggyback rides. Anna adored him, and I began to believe he might fill the emptiness in our lives. So, I remarried. However, I did have reservations, particularly about his relationship with his mother. Jake was raised by her alone after his father passed, which gave him a unique understanding of Anna's loss. "I know what it's like to lose a parent," he would say to comfort her. He also told me, "I owe my mom so much for raising me by herself. I feel I have to cherish her." At first, it seemed sweet, a testament to his loyalty, but the way he clung to her presence unsettled me. Whenever he was around her, he acted like a child, staying close by her side, always smiling. His mother doted on him endlessly, while he remained cold and distant toward Anna and me. It seemed that my mother-in-law disapproved of our marriage, likely due to the age gap and the fact that Anna wasn't Jake's biological child. During the introductions before our wedding, I overheard her mutter, "Jake could have done better," which left me feeling disheartened. Despite my concerns about her, I thought Jake would focus on our family after marriage. Unfortunately, my expectations were shattered. He revealed a lazy side, expecting me to handle everything, even though we both worked. If I asked him to pitch in, he'd respond with complaints like, "I'm tired," or, "Isn't housework the wife's duty?" Even though Anna is still young, she helps out around the house, yet, Jake hardly spends any time with her. He usually stays home on weekends playing video games or, worse, watches boat races and gambles online. When Anna asks him to play, he brushes her off with, "I'm busy," or, "Go play with mom." She once admired him, but over time, she began to distance herself. Jake's spending habits were also concerning. He'd blow through his paycheck on gambling, gaming, and drinking, leaving barely enough for household expenses. I, on the other hand, was diligently saving for Anna's future. Since Jake was unreliable, I knew I had to take responsibility for our finances. Jake was also picky with food, refusing to eat vegetables. He only wanted fish and meat, and if I tried to sneak vegetables into meals, he'd push them aside. Anna was growing, and I wanted to ensure a balanced diet, but this often led to arguments. Jake would sulk and storm off to his parents' house over trivial issues. One evening, after one of these arguments, his mother called to lecture me. "Jake values me, his mother, more than anyone else," she said, defending his tantrum. "For a young man like Jake, meat and fish are essential. I don't eat vegetables either. You're the wife, but you can't even cater to his needs?" It seemed Jake's pickiness was a result of his mother's indulgence. She'd allowed him to eat whatever he wanted, without limits. As our marriage went on, I became increasingly frustrated by Jake's immaturity. The thought of divorce crossed my mind, but the idea of a second failed marriage held me back. Looking back now, I should have made that decision sooner. Things took a dark turn when Anna turned 7. She adored her piano lessons and had made friends there, so I didn't want her to miss any classes. One day, Due to work obligations, I worried we'd be late, and since Jake had a car, I asked him to give her a ride, but he outright refused. No, I don't want to. What's in it for me to take Anna to piano class? It's just one lesson. They won't make her quit for missing it, he said dismissively. Then let me borrow the car. I'll bring it back immediately, I offered, trying to stay calm. Absolutely not, he replied. I didn't buy this car for someone else's kid, and I don't want it damaged. He then added, besides, today's my mom's birthday. I'm busy going over to her place now. I suggested he could drop Anna off first since there wasn't a strict time for the birthday, but he brushed me off, eager to be the first to arrive at his mother's celebration. His words stung deeply. I didn't buy that car to chauffeur someone else's kid. Jake had married me, claiming he wanted to be a father to Anna, but whenever it didn't suit him, he acted as if she was a stranger. This had become a recurring issue, and our arguments escalated frequently. Anna, sensing the tension between us, tried to step in. Mom, it's okay, I'll just run there, please, don't fight with Dad, she said softly. The sadness in her voice jolted me. We shouldn't be having these arguments in front of her, and I felt an overwhelming guilt for the burden she was carrying. Jake simply snorted, dismissing both of us, and left without a word. Soon after, my phone rang. It was the police. The news was grim. There had been a traffic accident. I rushed to the scene, arriving just as my daughter was being loaded into an ambulance. Anna was pale, barely conscious. Anna, please, hold on, stay with me, don't leave me, sweetheart, I begged, holding her hand, but she was unresponsive. My mind was flooded with memories of my late ex-husband's car accident. Now, it was my daughter. Somehow, I managed to get into the ambulance with her. Desperate, I dialed Jake's number repeatedly, but he didn't answer. Finally, I called my parents and my brother's family, who rushed to the hospital immediately. The doctor informed us that Anna had suffered a severe head injury and was unconscious, her condition critical. I felt myself falter, and if not for my brother's support, I might have collapsed. At last, Jake answered his phone. What is it? You keep calling over and over. It's annoying, he snapped. Jake, please, come to the hospital. Anna was in an accident. She's in critical condition, I pleaded, my voice shaking. His response was ice cold. Are you serious? You're bothering me for something like this? Don't mess with me. I was stunned. Jake, Anna's life is in danger, I said, barely able to hold back my disbelief. So what? I'm in the middle of my mom's birthday party, and I'm about to give her presents. I don't care about other people's kids. Handle it yourself, he said before hanging up. For a moment, I couldn't process his words, but then a fierce anger took hold of me. This man, who had vowed to love and protect us, dismissed my daughter's life as worthless. I would never forgive him. My brother's hand on my shoulder brought me back to the present, and I realized I'd left the phone on speaker. My family had heard everything. My parents were trembling with rage, and my brother's face was set in fury. There was no need to hide anymore. I told them everything, and they were livid. You have to divorce him, they insisted, anger thick in their voices. Yes, that's exactly what I'm going to do, I replied, still reeling from his cruelty. Thankfully, Anna stabilized after intensive treatment, and hours later, she was able to speak. My family and I were relieved, feeling some comfort that she was safe. The next day, Jake strolled in, humming to himself, looking carefree, but his smile quickly faded when he saw my parents and brother gathered in the living room, their expressions grave. My sister-in-law was with Anna at the hospital. Jake looked nervous, his usual confidence nowhere to be found. Welcome back. How was your mom's birthday party? I asked, my voice steady. It was fine, he replied, shifting uncomfortably, clearly sensing the tension. Without hesitation, I spoke directly. We're getting a divorce. Sign the papers. Sign these divorce papers quickly, I urged, pushing the documents toward Jake. Let's leave the details about asset distribution to the lawyers. He looked pale as he processed my words, and my brother's stern tone cut through the tense atmosphere. Jake, I'm deeply disappointed in you. I trusted you to take care of my sister, and you've neglected both her and Anna. The gravity of my brother's remark darkened Jake's expression even further. My brother was Jake's boss at work, and while he had previously shown favoritism toward him because he was my husband, that leniency was no longer an option. If my brother decided to cut ties with him, Jake's future at the company would be in serious jeopardy. Our house was another point of leverage. It belonged to my parents, who had gifted it to me when I remarried. Jake had no rights to it as an outsider, If we divorced, he would have to leave. I could see the realization dawning on him as he broke out in a cold sweat and began to tremble. Then, in a moment of desperation, he knelt down and begged for my forgiveness. Isabella, I'm sorry, I took your kindness for granted. I don't want a divorce. I promise to change and cherish both you and Anna. Please, don't make me go through with this, he pleaded, his voice breaking. Watching him beg like that only filled me with contempt. I felt no sympathy for his theatrics. I've tried my best to maintain a good relationship with you, I replied coldly, but you've acted as if your needs were the only ones that mattered. You didn't even treat Anna well, knowing she was in danger and still prioritizing your mother's birthday party. I've reached my limit. I'll never forgive you for abandoning my daughter when her life was at stake. Even though she's your stepdaughter, you should have shown her compassion. Your mother, who enables this behavior, is equally to blame. What value is there in your kneeling now? I continued. You've neglected us, done as you pleased, and lied about caring for us before we married. Even if you apologize now, I can't trust you. Please, don't say that. I'm really sorry for what I did, he cried, desperation etched on his face. All you're worried about is your own reputation, I said. I can't continue being your spouse. We don't need a father who doesn't care about his own daughter, especially after what just happened. Stay away from me and Anna. With that, he broke down in tears, begging for forgiveness, while my family and I watched him with cold eyes. The divorce went through without complications. There was no infidelity, so I didn't pursue alimony, but I made it clear that Jake had to leave the house immediately. Word spread at his workplace, and soon, Jake gained a reputation as a mama's boy. His colleagues eyed him with suspicion, and it wasn't long before he could no longer bear the humiliation. He resigned and returned to his parents' house. However, the unhealthy habits he had developed didn't vanish. Both he and his mother soon fell ill. Relying on dwindling savings to get by, he picked up multiple part-time jobs, but his health prevented him from keeping them for long. Desperate for reconciliation, Jake reached out to me, but I firmly rejected him. I had no intention of going back to a life filled with neglect and emotional turmoil. Now, Anna and I are building a calmer life together, thanks to the unwavering support from my parents, my brother, and my sister-in-law. Anna, who has since been discharged from the hospital, is smiling more each day. I'm determined to keep her happy and secure, and I will continue to work hard for her future.